We are often sold a very specific vision of artificial intelligence. The promise is that AI executes the heavy lifting with flawless momentum, leaving humans to supervise the process without any significant friction. This chart measures the reality of that promise. Experienced developers expected their speed to increase by 24% using AI, but actual measurements show they are operating 19% slower than before. This shift from authoring to supervising carries a biological cost. The intense cognitive load required to verify machine-generated output triggers AI brain fry. As the prefrontal cortex, the center of executive control, dims, the amygdala rapidly pulses and expands, shifting the brain into a reactive state. When this biological toll slows down delivery, the standard corporate response is to look at the individual. We tell employees to manage their time better, block off focus windows, and simply try harder to bridge the gap. Forcing developers to solve systemic technological friction with personal resilience is a core failure mode. When individual coping mechanisms are the only solution for a breakdown in how we work, the result is a measurable exodus of talent. This line graph tracks the human impact of treating work like calendar Tetris. AI-induced exhaustion is now directly correlated with a 34% higher intent to quit, as cognitive fatigue turns into professional disengagement. We often attempt to fix this by telling workers to manually guard their focus time or to share their personal energy loads with peers to adjust expectations. But these remain individual solutions to a structural problem. The alternative is a framework called energy intelligence. Instead of tracking raw output or hours spent at a desk, this approach focuses on the management of cognitive endurance as a formal business metric. This requires leadership to implement system-level capacity design. It means treating cognitive capacity as a hard capital asset and moving toward work-life integration that recognizes professional and personal demands fluctuate. Protecting the cognitive endurance of the individual is the baseline requirement for any team attempting to function alongside AI. At the team level, individual fatigue hits a wall of volume. The massive amount of AI-generated code is overwhelming human reviewers, leading to a state of review surrender, where changes are approved without true verification. This scatter plot visualizes the resulting instability. Median pull request sizes are skyrocketing, and 31% of code changes are now skipping the review process entirely. The failed response is to tell developers to manually scrutinize every line of AI input, or to communicate harder to bridge the silos created by this volume. The systemic fix is deterministic gates. This structural boundary shifts the initial review burden to the system. These automated checks ruthlessly block invalid AI code before it reaches a person, forcing the agent to resolve issues first, ensuring only verified increments demand human attention. Alongside these gates, leaders must treat cross-team dependencies as a non-negotiable priority, working to eliminate the invisible tax of redundant double-checking and siloed friction. Without automated systemic boundaries, the volume of AI output will always outpace human trust, leading to systems that are effectively unmaintainable. When organizations lack psychological safety, they force the workforce into a fight-or-flight survival mode. This disengagement isn't just a cultural issue, it carries a measurable economic burden. This pyramid illustrates a growing gap in the engineering pipeline. As AI absorbs the entry-level tasks traditionally used for training, the apprenticeship model begins to break down, making the path to senior leadership increasingly fragile. Simply telling junior employees to lean into the discomfort and independently figure out how to learn in this environment does not address the hollowing out of the talent pool. This dashboard replaces traditional KPIs with KVIs, key vitality indicators. Instead of just measuring output volume, this dual-axis chart tracks productivity against cognitive recovery to see if a workforce can actually sustain its performance. Leaders must redesign hiring criteria to prioritize curiosity and learning velocity, while accelerating apprenticeships by pairing junior staff with AI as a dedicated coaching partner. Organizational sustainability depends on generating new talent through these deliberate structures, rather than extracting raw output from a shrinking pipeline. Raw output is no longer the primary constraint. As the volume of generated code increases, the real work shifts toward maintaining architectural clarity and human verification, ensuring that the systems we build remain understood by the people who own them. In an environment of infinite machine-generated content, focused human judgment becomes the scarce resource that must be protected by the organization. Designing systems to remove friction for AI agents only creates value if the surrounding organizational environment is engineered to remove friction for the humans operating them. The playbook for leaders is clear. Implement systemic frameworks that shift the burden of adaptation off the isolated employee and onto the organizational design. To move forward, we must stop extracting raw performance and start sustainably generating it through resilient systemic design.